Beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. It's a tricky circuit to tackle in wet conditions, with top speed still of critical importance down the long back straight. There are 2.7 miles and 14 corners overall on a circuit that in the dry can see average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour. We'll be lucky to get anywhere near that today. Joining me on this very wet day is a man who's no stranger to driving in miserable conditions. Anthony Davidson, you've driven open cockpit, you've driven sports cars. How does the wet weather experience change between the different disciplines?
Well, I wouldn't say there's much difference in all honesty. You know, besides the terrifying closing speeds you find in sports cars with the different categories all sharing the same track, driving in the rain is, well, driving in the rain. Of course, the biggest difference between the two is the closed cockpit versus the open cockpit. You get the luxury of staying dry in the sports car, but if your screen ever gets dirty, well, that's a pit stop, not just wiping your visor or pulling away a tear off. But most of the time, you know, they're both as miserable as each other, to be honest.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz and Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, King, Ocon and Pierre Gasly, Perez, Alesi, Charles Leclerc and Tsunoda, Russell, Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Lance Stroll, Joe, Schwartzman, Mazepin and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track. That's it then for another magnificent Canadian Grand Prix, and they've hung on to take a sublime victory here today. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Yuki Tsunoda gets my vote today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today, as they make their way up the standings. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. We all underestimated you, didn't we? How did your team respond to the poor conditions today? Why do you think you weren't as quick as your teammate today? Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash? Great. Well, that's everything.
I know we were expecting some new developments to come through, but some of them have failed quality control. We'll need to tell the team what to redevelop via the R&D screen.